What's going on, YouTube? And welcome back to Goal Line Hockey. It's your boy, Kevin Forte, and today we are heading out to Western Canada. We're taking a look today at the Vancouver Canucks. We're taking a look at the guys that are quote-unquote safe in the Canucks organization. Jim Rutherford not being thrilled with the room, maybe seeing some pretty seismic changes to the personnel in that locker room to change the vibe. So we'll be taking a look at that today as well. So this is the first report here from John Shannon, and he says that Elias Pettersson, Quinn Hughes, Thatcher Demko, and Bo Horvat are the four safe Canucks. I'm not really too surprised by this. I think the only one that people would be a little bit more surprised by is Bo Horvat. He has been the captain of the Canucks now for I think 2 or 3 seasons now. You guys could correct me. I'm sure you will, because you guys are pretty good at that. But Bo Horvat's been a good captain there. He's been a good leader, but there's definitely been stuff out there about a divide in the room between guys like JT Miller and some of the veterans to maybe some of the younger guys. Hence, probably the leader of that pack being guys like Bo Horvat. So, when I hear about this stuff, I think this is a good core for the Canucks to build around. Pettersson, Hughes, Demko, and Horvat. You have Pettersson and Horvat, your forward guys, your centers, Quinn Hughes on the back end, and Demko. I don't think anybody's going to be too appalled by that. So I think that is quite interesting, but again, kind of deflates the Bo Horvat rumors, which I think is all the better, right? It kind of puts more focus on the guys that will probably get traded, and we're going to get to those guys in a second. So also from John Shannon, he says that Jim Rutherford hates the Canucks room and is expected to make a lot of changes. Now, I wonder if he was able to sniff out some of that divide in the room. Like I mentioned, there may have been some questions last year about between the younger guys and the older guys being a divide in the room, and that's why the JT Miller rumors were so rampant, because apparently he was a big part of the veteran movement in the locker room, and that may have played a part in certain things that happened last season for the Canucks. Now, Bruce Boudreau is returning, so that's not necessarily going to change in the locker room. I think the fans really love Bruce Boudreau and, well, the Bruce there it is chants and all that stuff. I think that's great for this team. So that kind of leads me into the discussion of who could be getting traded out of Vancouver. So right now I have Cap Friendly pulled up, and the first 2 names are going to be staying. Obviously, once Bo Horvat signs his extension, that will kind of be water under the bridge. Nobody's going to talk about that. Elias Pettersson also considered safe. So what are the other next big names out there? JT Miller is one of them. His contract ends this summer, or next summer, in the summer of 2023. So JT Miller is definitely one of those big names that's being talked about. I could see him definitely getting traded by the draft, because the longer the Canucks wait to make that trade, the more problems you run into in terms of his value he becomes a rental. So the further away that you trade him from free agency next summer, the better off, the more value the Canucks will get for him. So I think they're going to try and be pretty proactive this summer in getting that done. Connor Garland is the next one. I know, this guy just got here. He can't really catch much of a break, but he has no sort of trade clauses or no movements attached to his contract. It's going to be very easy to move. He's making under $5 million per season, and he's still only 26 years old. He's still fairly young. So for the Canucks, I don't think it's a necessary move, but it's one of those, unfortunately, it's one of the easier contracts to move, and that's why he will likely get moved. I don't think it's something that, if I were a Canucks fan, I would want to keep Connor Garland. He's a goal-scoring guy, right? You're already probably going to get away from guys like JT Miller, so you probably want to keep him in the lineup, but I think maybe that it just maybe isn't going to work out. Tanner Pearson has a modified no-trade clause. He's making a little over $3 million for this year and next year. So he'll be a UFA in 2024. So there is some complications to his contract. Not only the number, his actual salary is a little bit high for what he produces, and that might be tough to move. And like I said, the modified no-trade clause just kind of makes things even more difficult for the Canucks. I think he'll be a guy that gets moved next summer or next year at the deadline. I don't think many teams out there are going to want to anchor themselves to that contract of Tanner Pearson. He's not a bad player. I mean, again, this is not, but what he provides, you can get from guys cheaper than north of $3 million like Tanner Pearson. So that's just the reality of it. Jason Dickinson's another name I've been hearing a lot in the rumor mill, and I think it makes sense. Again, another depth guy getting paid a little bit too much. He's making $2.65 million. Again, a UFA in 2024. So, again, these are guys that the Canucks don't have to move. But if they want to make changes, these are the guys they have to move. And when I get to the defense, you'll understand why. Because the two big defensemen on that blue line, and I'm not talking about Quinn Hughes, there's two anchor contracts that I just don't think they're going to be able to move. So in order to compensate that 13 plus million between those two guys, they're going to have to probably do it with some of these forwards, some of their depth. Now that also leads me into the conversation. I do have to talk about Andrei Kuzmenko making his I want to say return, but it's his coming to North America party. He's coming over from the KHL. He's pretty much the Nikita Gusev reclamation project. This is a guy that's produced pretty good numbers in the KHL. He signed a 1-year deal, basically entry-level contract money. See how he does this year, and if they would like to re-sign him next year, they will do that. We've seen plenty of teams do that. Ilya Sorokin and Shesterkin, examples from New York. A little bit different because they were signed with those teams and they signed 1-year deals just to get them over here. I think that's what you're looking at here with Kuzmenko. Vasily Podkolzin, he is going to be a featured part of this team as well. So you're seeing a couple of Russian blood in there with those two. And you also have to consider the guys they have to re-sign this summer. Besser, Highmore, Juho Lamika. Those guys, probably not the top of the priority, but definitely Besser. I think they would like to keep him. Considering he's also a restricted free agent with arbitration rights, that is going to account for something. So again, the money that they're going to need to eat into is Garland and Dickinson being traded out. And that would allow for them to re-sign a guy like Besser, which I do think ultimately is what the Canucks will do. I think they're going to continue to explore trades on Besser, but unless they get the number they want, and again, teams realize he is a little injury prone, maybe they aren't going to get the value they want for him, and they're just going to keep him. I think it's simple as that. So this is where things get more complicated, and that's when we get to the blue line. So Quinn Hughes isn't moving. He's the highest paid defenseman. He's not moving. That's not happening. It's the next two guys. So Tyler Myers has a modified no trade clause, and Oliver Ekman-Larsson has a no movement clause. They're both plus 30 plus years old. OEL being 30, Myers being 32. OEL's contract takes him till the summer of 2027. I will be almost 30 years old when this contract comes to an end. It's kind of disgusting, and I will never get that old, hopefully. So when you look at it in that sense, that's a little concerning. That's going to be a really tough contract to move. Tyler Myers, on the other hand, his contract ends in 2024. So he has 2 more years, 2 seasons left on that deal. That will be much easier for the Canucks to move if they decide to do that. Now, those are $13 million plus between those two guys I just mentioned. Yikes. Again, that's a nice little exit gift, a farewell gift from Jim Benning. You also have Travis Dermott, Luke Shen, Kyle Burrows, Jack Rathbone, and Brad Hunt. Burrows and Shen, they're depth guys. Same thing for Dermott. So I don't see those guys moving. Halak, we know he's not coming back. And then Demko and Martin. I think they would like to try and move Tucker Pullman. I don't know how long-term his contract is, but that's going to be there. They still have 1 more year on Michael Furland's deal. He's on the LTIR. I don't think they're going to even try moving him. He's dead cap money. That's $3.5 million. They're just paying, and he doesn't count against the salary cap. He hasn't played in almost 2 years now, so they don't have to worry about that. So that's kind of what you're looking at there. Brandon Sutter comes off the books this year. That's a win for the Canucks. But Tucker Pullman is another one. when they signed him, I said that that might be a bad decision, and it looks more and more likely that wasn't a great move. They signed him for too much money. A third pairing defenseman making $2.5 million per year. That one hurts. Now the good news is there is no trade clauses or no movement clauses attached to that, so he will be easier to trade if they decide to do that. Again, that's $2.5 million this season. They will probably look to do that if they can. I could definitely see him being fodder to Buffalo or Arizona as a cap dump. So with that said, let me know what you guys think in the comment section down below. Do you think they keep Brock Besser? I think that is really which is a good thing. I think the most imperative thing they figure out this summer, and of course JT Miller, because JT Miller will be a UFA next summer. Let me know where you guys think he will end up as well. Leave some mock trades. Thank you so much for watching, and let's go Canucks.